Five, four, three, two, one, go. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Nasrullah, and for today's group assignment, we are recording for the report for engagement with news during COVID-19. Next. So this survey on a group of engagement with news COVID-19 was circulated via online messenger platform WhatsApp to IIM students. In ensuring its uniqueness, every respondent can only respond to this study once. This survey is a part of a broader research project about information seeking on COVID-19 and also its well-being. This survey will help researchers to understand how people are engaging with news in the context of COVID-19. There are a total of 14 questions, and each question is further elaborated with more specific questions. Questions are segmented into different subtopics and are mainly on the topic of how respondents consume news, effects of consuming news about COVID-19, importance of COVID-19 information, sources of information, obstacles for seeking information, and generalized anxiety disorder. Participation is strictly voluntarily, in which respondents may withdraw from the survey anytime they feel uncomfortable answering the questions. Our survey does not require respondents to input their personal unique information such as their names, but we just require their basic demographic information such as their major, year, and age. The survey question type is a mix of multiple choice questions, check boxes, short answer questions, and also majority linear scale questions. The time estimated to complete this survey is around 10 minutes. Next.
All right, moving on to the demographic background. My name is Nur Laili Abmira, BT Jeffrey Samso. Okay, this part has been divided by 5, and the total sample of the study is 51 students, IUM students. So the first one is about the level of the study. As you can see in the pie chart, 2/5 of the respondents who were involved in the survey are from year 3, and the remaining are from year 1, year 2, and year 4. All right, in terms of kuliah of the study, it consists of ICOL, KR, KHS, COE, CAED, CAMS, and COED. And KRKHS has the highest percentage of IUM participants involved in the study, which can be calculated as 72.5% of them. All right, for gender, the red one is the female and the blue one is the male. And this can be described as females are more interested to give more information about the news of COVID-19. All right, in terms of home country, the participants are required to state their home country, and majority of the respondents who are involved in this are locals. And the last one is about medical history. The result has proved that almost all of the respondents have no serious illness, of which 92.2% claim that they have no issue with their health.
Moving on to the next presentation, which is news consumption and well-being. My name is Elena Sofia. And the first data that we'll be showing is the news consumption. And the most preferred channel, which are news website applications, Instagram and Twitter. A majority of the respondents prefer news websites or application with a score of 72.5% due to the reason that it offers a reliable source that can easily let the viewers keep updated via mobile or computer. And a similar percentage on social media platforms, which are 68.6%, voted for Instagram, while 66.7% voted for Twitter. This is because Twitter and Instagram are the most preferred social media by a lot of our respondents. And it is also interesting that Facebook scored lower than Twitter and Instagram with a total percentage of 41.2% only. Next slide, please. Now, for the news platform, most of the respondents check on the news cases reported daily with a population of 41.2% voted that they strongly agree, while 5.9% scored strong disagree. As the COVID-19 became a global pandemic, more people are more concerned with the situation and thus updating themselves on the issue every day. However, it is also interesting that some of the respondents voted strongly disagree. And this is because since the increasing number of COVID-19 might be very intimidating, and some people wanted to avoid listening to the news as it may lead them to feel paranoid with the unfortunate circumstances. Next slide, please. Now, in the time-consuming news, we have also asked our respondents whether they read the news during the day or during the night. And many of our respondents voted for, which means they agree, with a total score of 16 respondents who voted that they read the news during the day. And despite that, the table on the frequency of reading news about COVID-19 during the night shows a very interesting graph, as 17 respondents score 2, which means disagree, while another 16 respondents scored 4, which means agree. And the data shows that our respondents may prefer reading the news during the day as informations are still new, and therefore they can get an instant update on the cases of COVID-19. Next slide, please. For the well-being, majority of our respondents did not limit themselves from watching COVID-19 news on mass media and social media with a percentage of 27.5% respondents consecutively. However, 35.3% of respondents admitted that they feel disturbed by the spread of COVID-19 to the extent that they become scared that the virus might affect their relatives and friends. And in terms of physical health, 29.4% of respondents reported that the pandemic did not affect their routine of doing exercises and becoming healthy. Moving on to the next presenter.
Okay, so this one is about the importance of COVID-19 information. For the first one, is about COVID-19, general information about COVID-19, and 6 in 10 of the respondents are strongly agree how important it is to educate themselves about COVID-19 information. The second one, it relates about the measures to protect themselves, family, and others from COVID-19 infection. So 3/4 of the respondents strongly agree that protection of themselves, family, and others are also important. Okay, and the third one, it relates with the alternative to against COVID-19. So in terms of how significant it is for the respondents to have a proper diet for boosting body immunity against COVID-19, 41.2% of them were totally agree with it. Meanwhile, less than 10% of them were claiming that this alternative of boosting body immunity to prevent COVID-19 is not important at all. So the fourth one is about how to maintain their physical activity during COVID-19 outbreak. So half of the respondents are strongly agree in which they understand during this pandemic, people are supposed to be aware of their physical activity with the intention to prevent COVID-19 infection. Okay, the fifth one, it is half of them were agreed that it is extremely important to inform their family and friends regarding this issue, but it should be done through effective ways. While 3.9% of them were saying that it is not that important to have a conversation with your family and friends regarding this COVID-19. All right, and this one, protecting me and my family from excessive anxiety, only 2/5 of the respondents, which can be calculated as 49% of them, found that it is very important to do so. All right. So for the actions, in terms of proper actions taken in case of suspecting that they got affected with COVID-19, only 52.9% of them agreed that it is crucial for them. And for the proper way of doing self-quarantine, only 2/3 of the participants, 62.7, were agreeing that it is compulsory for them to know that proper way of doing self-quarantine in case it has been mandated on their family. Okay, so in terms of proper ways of managing time at home, only half of the participants agreed that it is important for everyone to know how to manage their time properly at home. And for the last one, in terms of obeying the social distancing information, only 62.7% of the participants acknowledged that social distancing information must be obeyed by everyone. So with this, more or less can help to prevent COVID-19 cases from getting increased.
Next. Right, so for the next section, we'll be talking about the sources relied upon to obtain COVID-19 information. The media plays a vital role in reporting daily news updates, occurrences, new information about the virus, and instructions from their respective government on what they should do to keep themselves and their families safe, and how to maintain proper protocols for when you're out in the public. Hence, for each source of information, we provide a Likert scale of significance ranging from 1 to 5, 1 being very insignificant, 2 insignificant, 3 for neutral, 4 for insignificant, and 5 for being very significant. We will divide the sources of information into 3 themes. It is firstly is traditional media, second is digital media, and third is verbal. Next. So the first one is traditional media. You can see over here there are 3 types of sources of information: broadcast TV, print newspapers, broadcast media, radio. The first one is TV. You can see over here that the number of percentage are towards the significance and also very significance, in which there are very low votes of insignificance over here. Next one is print newspapers. We can see that it's quite balanced, where the voters kind of voted for significance and also insignificance at the same time. But the lastly is broadcast media, radio, where we can see that the voters voted a lot on significance with 15 and also 14 votes altogether for significance and insignificance. What we can see from this data here that people are still willing to use traditional media to obtain sources of information. As such, we can see TV media, print newspapers, and radio. Both of them are meaning in terms of significance. Next. Okay, next slide. All right, the next one is digital media. As you can see over here, digital media can be sorted out into 5 different sources. The first one is official health organizations like MOH. The data over here is quite obvious, where most people voted for significance with around 37 votes, I believe. Yeah. Next one is social media accounts of official news media. Official news media here are established news organizations, such as Berita Harian News, Straits Times, and stuff like that. So they are very credible, and people tend to trust them for their news. Hence, as we can see over here, the data are quite obvious. Most people are voting towards significance. The one is general social media accounts. General social media accounts can be, is a wide definition where it can be someone who is an expert in the information, or someone who is just laying or giving secondhand information about the pandemic. It can be from sharing, retweeting, or just posting stuff from the news article. So people tend to believe in its credibility. As you can see, there's a quite high of number of quite substantial amount of significant votes over there. The fourth one is instant messaging applications such as WhatsApp, Telegram. The number of votes for significance is quite high, which is the highest, around 18. And the second highest is neutral. I believe people who are using instant messaging applications to to share about COVID information are usually using links from online news. So therefore, people tend to be trusted towards this source of information. The fifth one is online newspaper. Online newspaper are basically newspapers in an online format. So as you can see over here, it is cost around 24 votes for significance and very low votes for insignificance. And what we can assume from this is that online newspapers are from well-established organizations, but it is just in online format. Hence, the numbers are towards significance. Next. Okay, the last theme is verbal. Verbal information may include healthcare professionals such as doctors, nurses. As we can see, the data is towards significance with around 27 votes and 15 votes for significance. It shows that people are willing to trust experts in this when it comes to information. And secondly is people surrounding you, where the highest number of votes received is under neutral, and the second highest is under very significant. What I believe is people surrounding you may include your friends, families, colleagues, in terms of providing you information. The highest number of votes is in neutral is due to the fact that it can be true and it can be wrong. Hence people are uh, hence people are not voting significant or insignificant. Next.
Assalamualaikum. Amrita will present to you the obstacles for finding coronavirus informations. So as you can see, the spread of false information was the highest percentage of participants strongly agreed that this is an obstacle when seeking coronavirus information, in compared to 13.7% those who disagree that this is an issue or obstacle when searching for coronavirus information. Spread of rumors, also 39.2% of participants on this survey said that this could be an obstacle, an issue, in comparison to 15.7% and 5.9% those who stayed neutral. Next. Okay, massive information about the disease. So 29.4% of the participants saw this as an obstacle when seeking coronavirus information, and this could relate to the two previous charts. 25.5% were neutral on this, and compared to 9.8% and 7.8% of those who strongly disagreed or somewhat disagreed. Short information seems psychologically distressing to 37.3%. This could be an obstacle when seeking coronavirus information, followed by 27.25% of those who strongly agreed. 19.6% were neutral, while 5.8% strongly disagreed that this could be an issue or an obstacle when seeking coronavirus information. Difficulty to understand the scientific content. 29.4% somewhat agreed on this, while 21.6% kept neutral. 7.8% were strongly disagreed on this one as in being an obstacle. Deficiency in trustful sources of information could relate to the previous charts about the rumors and false information. But 39.22% of the participants agreed to this as in being an obstacle when searching for coronavirus information, while 21.26 strongly agreed, and compared to 23.5% of those who were neutral. Next. Time limitless and poor accessibility to information both had a high percentage of those who were neutral. However, time limitless, 33.3% somewhat agree to this as being an obstacle, and compared to 19.6% on those who said poor accessibility to reliable information is an obstacles seeking coronavirus information. Contradicting information sources and late in receiving new information both have a substantial percentage of neutrals, 37.23% for contradicting information sources of participants who did not agree or disagree on this. Late in receiving new information, 21.6% strongly disagree with this, and compared to inconsiderable percentage of those who disagreed.
Alright, the next one is anxiety disorder. My name is Adalika Apridiana. Okay. Generally, anxiety disorder is considered to continue rising during the outbreak. Based on the survey conducted, it demonstrates the result of respondent response regarding the anxiety disorder that they experienced during the pandemic. And it can be seen that the majority of respondents had felt anxious during the pandemic for 1 until 2 days and 3 until 4 days, with the percentage of 37.3% and 23.5% respectively, whereas 9.8% of them experienced that feeling almost every day. Next slide. This, moreover, anxiety disorder creates psychological anomalies, and this is because of the negative impact of anxiety disorder encountered in the body to reduce the immunity, so that people are vulnerable to the illness. And besides, when a variety of physical and psychological symptoms emerge that were not apparent in our bodies before extreme anxiety exists. So based on the data collected, 39.2% of respondents has had experienced 1 until 2 days of trouble relaxing, and 29.4% being so restless during the outbreak about 2 days. Thus, anxiety had led most of the respondents to encounter interference, which is difficult to relax and have adequate rest during the outbreak. So, however, some respondents also encounter anxiety by experiencing difficulty in sleeping 3 until 4 days and difficulty in eating for 2 days during the pandemic. And most of them had trouble sleeping, with highest proportion of 29.4% and 19.6% got difficulty in eating. To compare, more of the general experience of the respondent during the pandemic is difficulty in sleeping than difficulty in eating. This is because during the isolation at home, it might be easy to eat more rather than sleep. Also, the doctor highly discouraged sleeping past the usual bedtime routine because it can destroy one's sleep schedule and make it more difficult to sleep. Thus, a lack of sleep might be one of the reasons for developing anxiety disorder. Next slide. Hence, plenty of them also got feeling nervous and not being able to stop worrying for 1 until 2 days of the pandemic, with the highest percentage in each proportion of 35.3% and 45.1%. So, pandemic leads to many aspects of crisis. Therefore, it can be seen that the early phase during the pandemic has shocked everyone with speculation of all sorts, including having difficulties in living that they affect their mental health. Moving on to the next presenter.
So we reached our last segment, which is the conclusion. Our findings on this survey displayed that IUM student engagement with news during this pandemic dramatically increased, especially with social media, Instagram and Twitter being the medium for news. While the majority prefer websites and apps, the news consumption increased as well, with students seeking to comprehend more about this pandemic compared to before COVID-19. High percentage of students showed the eagerness to educate themselves about the pandemic. Therefore, we can assert that this pandemic elevated the engagement with news. While the news engagement has increased, so did the concern of false news, of rumors, and massive information, including complicated news as an obstacle when seeking information regarding COVID-19. The pandemic and exposure to nerve-wracking news causes anxiety because of the conspiracies swirling the news, driving people to experience symptoms of anxiety, including difficulty relaxing or sleeping, problems caused because of the current situation.